Hello friends, I welcome you all in this video. In the last video, we have discussed the definition of vector space and some examples of vector space. Now in this video, we are going to discuss the subspace of a vector space and quotient space with some examples, and then later on we will see the definition of homomorphism of a vector space. So let's start with the definition of subspace. So if we have a vector space V over a field F and W is a subspace of V, then this W is said to be a subspace of V if under the operation of V, this W itself forms a vector space over F. That means that W has to be a subset and that W itself forms a vector space over the operations of V. Then this W is called a subspace of V. Now there is one condition. By using that condition, one can check whether the given subset of a vector space is a subspace of V or not. As we have learned in the group theory that a non-empty subset H of a group G is a subspace if and only if it holds two property, closure property and inverse property. In the same way, here we can give that condition, or you can say equivalently, W is a subspace of V whenever for two elements in W, set W1 comma W2, and two elements from field alpha and beta, then alpha W1 plus beta W2 is in W. That means this condition is equivalent to saying that W is a subspace of V. Means suppose someone asks to show that W is a subset of V and show that W is a suppose given that W is a subset of V and asked to show that W is a subspace. What we need to do at that time? Consider any two element of W and consider two elements of field, and then calculate this alpha W1 plus beta W2 and show that that is the element of W. Then directly this W becomes a subspace of V. Note that in the example that we have discussed yesterday, in example 4.1.4, this example was the example of a set of polynomials of degree. There was no restriction in that example. This example 4.1.4 was the set of all polynomials over field F, and this example 4.1.3 was the example of vector space. In that set of that vector space was set of all polynomials of degree less than n. Means this, in this example 4.1.3, V will be the subset of the example 4.1.4. That's why in the example 4.1.3, whatever that V is defined, that V becomes a subspace of V that we have discussed in this example 4.1.4. right? Now let's see the definition of homomorphism of vector spaces. To define the homomorphism of vector spaces, one should have two vector spaces over the same field. So let us consider the definition. Let's start the definition. If V, U and V are vector spaces over F, then the mapping T of U into V is said to be a homomorphism if what? There are two conditions. First condition is what? T of U1 plus U2 is same as T of U1 plus T of U2. And second condition is over scalar multiplication, that is T of alpha U1 is same as alpha outside the operation, we alpha into T of u1. Now homomorphism means what? Homomorphism is nothing but a mapping which preserves the operations, a mapping which preserves the operation. Now here in the vector spaces there are two operations, right? First one is a addition operation and second one is a scalar multiplication, that is element from field and element of vector. We can multiply them and the resultant element will be in vector again. Okay, so these two operations are there. So with respect to these two operation, or you can say a mapping which preserves these two operation, that mapping we call it a vector space homomorphism or homomorphism of a vector space. So that is there in the definition here. You can see in the first condition T of u1 plus u2, that is T over addition of vectors is same as T of u1 plus T of u2, and T over alpha u1 is same as alpha into T over u1. So this is the definition of homomorphism, and one can observe here that clearly the example of homomorphism will be zero homomorphism, right? If we define a zero mapping from any vector space to any other vector space, but the condition is what? Both of the vectors must be over the same field, right? That means suppose I have defined say T is a mapping from say U to V, and I have defined that mapping is zero mapping. That means T of U is equal to 0, and this 0 for all U in U. Okay, so this mapping is clearly a homomorphism. How you can observe here, this mapping satisfy both the conditions. If you consider here T of u1 plus u2, what is T of u1 plus u2? It will be 0, right? This T of u1 plus u2, it will be 0 here. What about T of u1 to this right hand side? This will be also 0. T of u2, this will be also 0. So both of them are equal, right? As well as T of alpha u1 will be 0, as well as T of u1 is 0. 0 into alpha is again 0. So this 0 mapping is a homomorphism of vector space. Okay, right. And also one can observe that identity mapping. Now what is meant by identity mapping? Identity mapping is nothing but a mapping of this kind. You can observe here, I'm writing that mapping here. That mapping is nothing but T of u is same as u. This mapping means whatever the input is there, input and output both are same here. So this kind of mapping is known as identity mapping, and this identity mapping is clearly a homomorphism of vector spaces. But the thing is here that this u has to be equal to v, then and only one, then you can define identity mapping. Okay, right. So let's go ahead. Now after the definition of homomorphism, clearly homomorphism is a mapping which preserves all algebraic structures of our system. Yes. Now after that, let me define a kernel of a homomorphism, and before that let's see one definition here. If T is a mapping, obviously it's a homomorphism, and if it is a one-to-one mapping, if T is a homomorphism and it is a one-to-one mapping, then we call it an isomorphism. We call it an isomorphism. Means what? Homomorphism plus 1 implies isomorphism. Now next definition is a kernel of T. Here T is a homomorphism, then kernel of T is what? Set of all elements in domain. That means T is a mapping from U to V, then kernel of T is set of all elements in U which goes to 0 under the mapping T. See here, T of U equal to 0. So this is a kernel of homomorphism, and we denote the kernel of homomorphism here kernel of t, ker of t, right? Now the question arises here is that whether that kernel of t, obviously kernel of t is a subset of u, right? Now whether that kernel of t is a subspace of u or not, that we want to check. Means here I have wrote prove that, means obviously it's a subspace of u. And one more thing is that it's a very important you can say result, because in many cases we are going to use this result. That result is what? T is an isomorphism if and only if its kernel is 0. Its kernel is 0 means what? In the kernel of t there is only one element, and that element is 0. And this is a if and only if condition. Means t is 1 1, 1 1 means obviously it's isomorphism, imply kernel contains 0. And conversely what? If kernel t contains 0, then t has to be 1 1, means t has to be isomorphic. Now this is the thing that we want to show now. Now first we will show that kernel of t is a subspace of u. Now consider kernel of t. Kernel of t is what? Set of all elements in u such that t of u equal to 0. Now to show that kernel of t is a subspace, I need to consider two elements from kernel of t. So let u1 u2 in kernel of t. Now as u1 u2 are in kernel of t, means what? Whenever we apply t on u1, what I will get? I will get 0, because u1 is in kernel of t. Similarly t of u2 equal to 0, because u2 is in kernel of t. And let consider two scalars from field f. Then calculate this one, t of alpha u1 plus beta u2. As t is given to you, which is a homomorphism, you can separately operate that t over alpha u1 and over beta u2. That means which is equal to, see here, t of alpha, here alpha into t of u1 plus beta into t of u2. But what is t of u1? T of u1 is 0 here. What is t of u2? T of u2 is 0 again. So alpha into 0 plus beta into 0 will be again 0. So what this says? This says that t of alpha u1 plus beta u2 is 0. Means this element alpha u1 plus beta u2 is in kernel of t. That means this kernel of t is a subspace of u, right? By the definition of subspace, right? Now the next thing which remains to prove is that t is a isomorphism if and only if kernel of t contains singleton 0 element. Now first we will prove that, or before that I need to assume that t is a isomorphism, right? Let us assume that what? A homomorphism t from u to v is an isomorphism. Isomorphism means what? I have told you the definition of isomorphism. That means t, which is homomorphism, has to be 1 1. That is, t is 1 1 homomorphism. Now our claim is what? Claim is to show that kernel of t contains 0. Now to show that kernel of t contains 0, consider one element from kernel of t and show that it is 0. So let's see. As v is in here, instead of v it should be u, okay? As t of as u is in kernel of t, t of u equal to 0, but 0 can be also write as t of 0. But t is what? T is 1 to 1 mapping. 1 to 1 mapping means what? If the images of two elements under t are same, right? That is t of u is same as t of 0, then those elements must be equal due to the oneness of t. That means what I will get? I will get u equal to 0. That means whatever the element that you are considering in kernel of t, that has to be 0. Means what we have proved here? We have proved that kernel of t contains singleton 0. Now conversely, suppose that kernel of t contains singleton 0. Now kernel of t contains singleton 0 means there is no non-zero vector in U, when we apply t on that element, we will not get equal to 0. Means kernel of t contains only singleton 0. What I need to prove now? I need to prove that t is a one-to-one mapping. Now one-to-one mapping means what? If two distinct element goes to distinct two distinct element have the distinct images, that is the definition of one-oneness. But to prove that t is one-oneness, what I can assume that suppose two element have the same images under t. Suppose two element have the same images under t. That means let t of u1 equal to t of u2 for some u1 u2 in capital. Now this says that you can take this t of u2 to this left hand side, and due to the homomorphism of t, you can take outside t outside the bracket. So what I will get, t of u1 minus u2 equal to 0. But by using this equation, what I can say that this u1 minus u2 is in kernel, but kernel of t contains singleton 0. Thus u1 minus u2 has to be equal to 0. So as u1 minus u2 is 0, you can write down u1 equal to u2. That means what we have proved here? We have proved that if two elements have the same images, then both the elements should be same. Hence t becomes 1 1. That means t is an isomorphism, right? Yes. So let's go ahead again. Now when we can say that two vectors are isomorphic? We know the definition of isomorphism now, but what about two vectors are said to be isomorphic? If there is an isomorphism, see here, two vector spaces are said to be isomorphic if there is an isomorphism of one into the other. Means suppose we have two vectors v and u, u and v you can say, and if there is a mapping from u to v or v to u, and that mapping is isomorphism and 1 on 2, then we can say that two vectors u and v are isomorphic. Now the set of all homomorphisms of u into v, we write it as set of all what? Consider the set of all homomorphisms of u into v, and we denote it by home of u comma v, home of u comma v. But basically we are interested in two special cases of this set. Means you can consider here v is same as field here, means set of all homomorphisms from u to field f, as well as second special case is what? Set of all homomorphisms from u to u. So these are the special cases that we are going to learn ahead. So, and one can also observe here, or one can remind that we have already proved that set of all homomorphisms or homomorphisms from you can say here that this forms a ring. Set of all homomorphisms from u to v forms a ring. One can easily check it out also. Now in the statement of lemma below, 0 represents the 0 element in v. Before going to see the next lemma, here they are giving some information about the next lemma. Okay, so in the statement of lemma below, 0 represents the 0 element, 0 of the identity, 0 of the addition in v. Okay, and minus v, obviously minus v is an additive inverse of the element v of capital. So this is a basic lemma in vector spaces. So it's a very simple lemma. Let's see. If v is a vector space over f, then alpha into 0 is same as 0 for alpha is in f, as well as 0 into vector is same as 0, and minus alpha into v is same as minus time alpha into v. And fourth one is what? V is not equal to 0, but alpha into v is 0. V is not equal to 0, but alpha into V is 0, then what should be 0? Alpha has to be 0, right? So let's see the proof of this lemma 1.3. As I told you, the proof is very easy. So in the first part of the lemma is alpha into 0, which is equal to 0 can be written as what? 0 plus 0. Now you can distribute this alpha over 0 plus 0. So you will get alpha into 0 plus alpha into 0. As I got here, alpha into 0 is equal to alpha into 0 plus alpha into 0. One alpha into 0 you can take to this left hand side. So both of them are same. So which is equal to 0. So alpha into 0 will equal to 0. You will get it directly. Then again in the same way, instead of alpha we have vector here. So 0 into V. Now again you can write down 0 as 0 plus 0 into V. As V is a vector and 0 plus 0, both of them are scalar, you can distribute that vector over a scalar by the properties of vector space, or you can say axioms of vector space. So V into 0, again you can distribute here, and plus V into 0. As we did in the first case, in the same way alpha into V, this 0 into V is same as 0. You will get directly. Now the next thing is that what I want to prove? I want to prove that minus alpha into V is same as minus bracket alpha into V. Now to prove this, you can consider 0 as alpha plus of minus alpha, or before you can say before this step one can write down 0 is 0 equal to 0 plus V. 0 is same as 0 plus V, and this 0 can be written as alpha plus of minus alpha. Alpha plus of minus alpha. Now you can distribute this V over this alpha plus of minus alpha. You will get alpha V minus plus minus alpha V into V. Now you can take this alpha V to this left hand side. You will get minus times, right? So minus alpha V is same as minus times alpha V, right? This is second statement. Now for the third statement, what I want to prove? I want to prove that alpha equal to 0. Okay, and I need to assume V is not equal to 0, right? And then I will get contradiction before after assuming that alpha is not equal to 0. Okay, now if alpha V equal to 0 and alpha is not equal to 0, okay, and as alpha is non-zero, alpha is what? Alpha is the element of field, right? Scalars are from field F, and due to alpha non-zero, inverse will exist in field F, right? So I can multiply this by alpha inverse. If I multiply this given alpha V equal to 0 from left side by inverse of alpha, what I will get? Alpha into alpha inverse will be 1. So 1 into V, which is equal to 0, and 1 into V is V. So what I got here? V equal to 0. But what is in lemma? In lemma, V is not equal to 0. So it arises to the contradiction that V equal to 0. So the whatever the assumption is here, that alpha is not equal to 0, is wrong. So what we must have? We must have alpha is equal to 0 there. Okay, this is the end of proof of the lemma.